Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval. Today we'll be reviewing the first French battleship, that being Courbet, but first let's just take a look at the line of French battleships in general. So we go from Courbet to Bretagne, to Normandy, Lyon, Gascogne, Alsace, and France. Now, similar to how the American battleship line is split up, you have early war battleships, and then you have late war fast battleships. So let's take a look to see what we have. In general, though, French battleships tend to have guns smaller on almost all occasions. I don't think they ever have the biggest guns of their tier. So you start off with 12-inch and you end with 17-inch. Or 17 and a half, I should say. The French battleships are focused on, well, later on, you have speed and rate of fire. And then at these tiers, you have secondaries and number of guns on the broadside. So you start off with Courbet, like I said, and you can take a look at her here. We'll go through each one of these ships in their own video, obviously. But you can just get a good look of it. And you have, like, the first two are pretty similar. Pretty basic designs. And then we have Normandy, which is the first time you see a quadruple turret, which is pretty reminiscent of all French designs. A lot of them have quadruple turrets. Then you have Lyon, which has 16 guns. Yes, you have 4 quadruple turrets on this ship, similar to the tier 10, or at least one of the tier 10, or top tier, I should say, Russian battleships that's supposed to be coming out. However, that one will have 16-inch guns. This one only has 13 and a half. And then you switch over to the fast battleships, starting with Gascogne, and Richelieu is also very similar at this tier. Same with Clemenceau or Jean Bart. And then Alsace, which is just a little bit nerfed version of Joan of Arc. And then you have France, which I kind of have mixed opinions on, honestly, but she's not bad. And can she be quite fun? All right, so Courbet. Let's start with her. So let's see what we have. We have 42,300 health. Another thing about the French line is that a lot of their health pools are most of the time a lot smaller than other battleships at this are their tiers respectively. Sometimes considerably so, like almost 25% smaller. So you have to keep that in mind. So 42,300 health, 6% torpedo damage resistance. So you may as well have nothing at all. You have up to 340 millimeters of armor, which is what, 12, 13-ish, I would think. Yeah, about 13 inches. Let's see, is that on the belt? Pretty much, yeah. 330 on the belt. So a lot of your armor is on the belt, the gun barbettes, and the gun sides and turret face. And then the main citadel area for the bridge as well. Honestly, these early war battleships, specifically Courbet and Bretagne, your armor is pretty much trash. If you get full broadside and you're close enough, you can definitely be one-shotted, especially by Wyomings. Those are not very nice to French battleships. Alright, so your armor is trash, even though it's there. It's good against cruisers and destroyers, mainly. Well, cruisers, guns, because they're just kind of small, but torpedoes with your low damage resistance percentile, as well as your slow speed of a maximum of 21 knots, plus your low amount of health pool, torpedoes are actually really dangerous against you. So let's see what we have to help balance that out. So guns shoot out to 17.4 kilometers. If I remember correctly, French battleships also have one of the longest ranges continuously during the entire tech tree. So like from the first one to the last one, they all have pretty long range, which is not something you always have. Secondaries go out to 4.5 kilometers. When you first look at this ship, you see how many seconds? It has 22 secondaries. So you have 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 2 here, and then I think these are AA guns. But yeah, you see all these secondaries. So at least, what, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 on one side and 11 on this side. And you think, wow, the ship is a secondary brawler. And that's what I thought when these ships were being previewed. However, the shell arcs and shell velocity for these secondaries is so bad that even at 4.5 kilometers, it takes like a solid 5 seconds for the shells to reach their target. And the accuracy is utter trash, and so is the shell arcs. They're really not that good at this tier. Once you get higher tiers, for example, like Gascogna, when you start getting the 6-inch secondaries, like the red ones here, and you have one back here, those are your real damage getters in terms of secondaries. All right, so going back to Courbet, let's see here. So you saw the gun ranges. The shell velocity could be better. You do have 12-inch guns. You do have them arranged in, what is this, 6 double turrets, 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, 1 on each wing, for a max broadside of 10. Not the most efficient design, but also not terrible either. At least it's not something like Kaiser. Or I should say Nassau or Kawachi, because that's just another waste of ammunition as well. But let's see. As you saw, the speed was relatively slow as well. You really don't have fast speeds until the higher ships you do have. But starting at, I think it might be Normandy. Yeah, starting at Normandy, you actually are able to equip a speed boost. And that follows through for the rest of the line. And then for Richelieu, Joan of Arc, and France, you can equip a reload battery booster as well. And then the only difference is Clemenceau, which can have the anti-aircraft barrage. But besides that, you have speed boosts, and then a few of them have the reload booster for their main weapons. So it's honestly really, really effective. You have good speed, you have good maneuverability, rapid firing guns, relatively decent secondaries, and AA is pretty good as well. Your armor is not the best on the broadside, but no battleship really is unless you're using German line. So if you know how to use it and angle properly, then you should have not a problem. One thing with higher tier battleships, just like Clemenceau, if you just nose in, pretty much all of the shells will just ricochet unless they're using high explosive. So that's another tactic you could use. It's not going to work so much at the lower tiers, obviously, because you'll just go right through the nose. But it can still be done if you need to. AA defense. 26 at 2.0. I mean, there's not many aircraft you'll run into, so I'm not too worried about that right now. Yeah, she's not a bad ship. This French battleships in general are pretty much my favorite. I really, really like them. Specifically the more modern-esque ones, so like Dunkirk and then Jean Bart and above. These lower ones, like including Lyon, I don't really enjoy. Lyon, Normandy, Bretagne actually I do enjoy quite a bit. And then there's Courbet as well. They're not bad at the lower tiers, but they're better the higher you go. Like I said before, for the Russian battleships that will eventually be coming out, I don't know when, but it looks like they will be. Normandy and Lyon have very similar gun layouts. So like I said, if you want to get a feel for how those might be, or at least how some of them might be, you can play these ships and get a feel for the gun layout and best way to use armor and balancing and all of that. It's really up to you. Alright, so enough going on about the line itself. Let's toss Courbet into a game to see how we do today. Alright, so here we have ourselves a game. Obviously no carrier, since we're too low of a tier. 2 battleships, both being Courbet, Teneriu, Colberg, St. Louis, and a Wix. And honestly, my least favorite map. Now, I do apologize for the audio yesterday. I'm still trying to get used to the new features of this phone. So hopefully it's not as bad today. However, if it is, I do apologize once more, and I will do a little bit more tinkering around with it later on. So I do have health buffs and speed buffs applied at this time, so keep that in mind. Health buffs are important, however the speed buff does not really do anything since my max speed at base is only 21 knots. You do have a normal heal and repair as well, but the rate of fire is what's important. As you can see, all my guns are already loaded. The middle gun, or actually it's a side gun, not the middle gun, that's Protagna. The gun angles are not actually terrible. As you can see here, I have 3 guns I can use immediately. And then if I wanted to use all 5, it'd be something like this. Obviously, that's not going to bounce as many shells as the first one with only 3 turrets, but it still can be done. Let's see if we can get some few shots at this Courbet. I'm not familiar on the shell velocity right now, so let's see how that works. 2 overpens. Not the best. Maybe I want to actually switch over to... I want to switch over to high explosive for the Colberg and Teneriu and Wix, but St. Louis are best dealt with using armor piercing, and so are the Courbets. So maybe we'll just stick to where we have right now, and if Teneriu is going to give me an angle shot, that gives me more chance to get an actual real penetration and a citadel. So that was pretty good. The accuracy, as you can see, is okay-ish. It's not the best. So the Wix is in 4.5 kilometers. Secondary should be opening up here. Not quite sure why they're not. Let's see if we can finish this thing. There we go. I took with them. I thought secondary range is 4.5. Why am I not shooting it? Regardless, it's not like they're going to do much anyways. Is this a ram? No. Yes. Okay. Alright, so now we only have a few ships left. We have the Colberg, some St. Louis, and then the Courbets. Some pretty good damages. With 12-inch guns, you either have a chance of overpenning completely or actually getting a decent hit, and even the occasional citadel if they give you enough angle. Especially at lower tiers, if you have ships like Colberg and Spear that have basically 0 armor, that is the best way for them to not suffer major damage, because if you give full broadside, they'll just overpen. However, if you give an angle or even give a bow on profile, there's a lot more ship for that shell to pass through, which means it has the tendency to actually arm and do more damage rather than just going full broadside. Now that won't save you all the time, but it's definitely possible. Look at how like spread out these secondary shells are as well. There's some good chunk damage. You can use these back turrets on the Courbet right here. I don't fancy ramming you, certainly. Nope, looks like I'm gonna get a ram, but I'll survive. Barely. Alright, so we have all of our guns. Torpedo. Okay. You can see the shell arcs of these secondaries, they're just monumentally high. See if we can wait for them to reload. Are we actually out of range? Oh, yeah, you can shoot differently. Also get a little bit more damage. She's trying to angle in a little bit. But, I mean, as you can see, that doesn't stop any of my shells, and only ricocheting one. And the other 8 went through the nose. We're gonna start turning. Okay. here. Alright, so we're going to use our secondaries on both sides now. Let's see if we can actually... Almost. And another fire. So apparently this ship likes to burn, it looks like. Okay, so that Courbet went down. This St. Louis needs to go down before it sets me on fire again. And I predicted the future apparently, because I am now on fire again. And we'll see if we actually survive. Our heal's going to come up first. And then hopefully we'll last long enough to use our repair as well. But if not, I do have a couple of shells. I can shoot down range. There we go, our heals up. Ooh, you guys see that. Nice. Is this going to make it? Nope. Whatever. Alright, so your slow speed may have its benefits in the fact that you are quite maneuverable. But then, even when you're in the turn, you still lose what little speed you had. So, it's a specific gameplay. The guns are really good, and they do rotate pretty quickly. And they reload relatively quick as well. So, your guns are going to be the mainstay of the French line. Not your armor, not your secondaries, not your AA. Your speed and rate of fire. And those are two things that I really look for in a ship. So this is why I like the French line in general. And even if you don't have the best accuracy, which apparently I had at that shot, if you can shoot a lot of shells downrange, then it doesn't matter how accurate they are. You just have to shoot a lot of them. Alright, so let's see how we did. 153,000 damage, 3 ships sunk, 66 shell hits, 4 citadels, 3 fires, 2 defended caps, 22 secondary hits. And then 3,600 base XP. 118,000 damage in armor-piercing shells. Almost 8,000 in fire. Secondary actually did almost 20,000 damage, so that was actually pretty decent. And then ramming, because the St. Louis decided to, did 8,200. So it wasn't terrible. Like I said, your guns are pretty good. Your secondary is actually relatively more powerful than I expected. But then again, I was just shooting St. Louis, which are not really known for their armor. But they did set 3 fires out of 22 hits, so that was pretty good as well. As a good starting ship, she's not bad. She's actually one of the better low-tier battleships to start with, especially considering there's Kawachi. So she's not bad, she's really good, and then like I said, it only gets better from there. There's no really bad French ship. I have least favorites. For example, I don't really like Escogna, or Normandy for that matter, but I mean, they all have their abilities, their advantages, disadvantages, specific playstyles. Courbet is a fun ship and a good way to start out. And then join me tomorrow while we go over Bretagne, which is pretty much exactly the same ship. However, it has a better layout, even more secondaries it looks like, and a little bit better AA. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So thank you for watching and have a good day.